Welcome, Potaholics. Welcome back to today's episode. Definitely excited for this one because, we've been talking a lot about recruiting and people in the space, getting jobs and things like that. And every time I have these conversations, I feel like I get more and more excited to bring you guys this kind of value. And then even just for me, I feel like a lot of people ask me questions and I have no idea about giving you jobs or anything like that. So today's very special. This is also the first time Chris and I really jump on a call. We connected together over the phone the other day. He gave me a follow on Instagram and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Let's network. I just said, hey, dude, here's my phone number. Let's talk. And now here we are. So today's episode is definitely exciting as we dive a little bit more into tech. If you don't already know, these episodes in this season of Potaholics is not about my experience in the tech field. It's more so my journey in the tech field. As a lot of you know, I am new to the space, coming in as an agency owner, specifically in the fitness space. I'm trying to bring a lot of value to not only myself, but also to you guys. So I'm definitely excited. Chris, if you want to do a little bit of an introduction of yourself here, what's your story? What are your credentials? And then we can kind of get going from there, boss.
Yeah, name is Chris Schwenk. I have over 15 years in the mostly tech recruiting business. Did take a slight pivot during COVID. There was a lot of money in the clinical side.
Okay.
I had a client that did all the COVID trials, vaccine trials, and among other trials. So took a bit of a pivot and focused on that. And I wasn't going to let that money train fly by without jumping on. So, but besides that, it's been I've been in the tech space, getting people jobs, mostly hourly, which we can talk about. A lot of people just think a job is okay. We pay 100K, 6 figures, great, okay, benefits. But so tech's a bit different, where there's a whole sub industry of hourly jobs, and people are like, yeah, right, hourly, like McDonald's paying 21 an hour. It's like, well, they have stuff. Yeah, they have help desk jobs at that level, but they have hourly jobs up to 100, 150. I've seen 200 an hour.
I saw some of your posts about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great money, and again, you're operating, just as like a 40-hour a week person. So, a lot of people, they're making good money, but they're, when you actually look at the hours worked, suddenly 200K, and then, okay, till 8 p.m. every night, and a couple hours on the weekends, suddenly, that's kind of ticking down. Your 200K is like, hourly. I'm like, this isn't that much.
Yeah.
These are different. So it's 40 hours a week. You're collecting 100K or 100 an hour, excuse me, on a lot of these jobs. And so 4K a week, and you're done at 5.
Cool. Are these 1099s or are they W-2s?
They can do both. Yeah. So most of the industry is, they don't do 1099 necessarily. It's like you have to pretty much set up your own LLC.
Yeah.
So, it's like you're your own company, and the company is providing this service.
You're more like a consultant in a way.
Yeah.
Have your own like miniature consulting firm.
Yeah. Which,
cool.
Can create a lot of great, tax benefits.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like your phone if you use it for work, great. Boom, right off. Back in the day, it was like people would build a home office and you could write off the square footage of that office. Which, now everyone's working from home, but back then it was like a big deal. So
yeah, no, 100%. When you do your taxes, you literally tell them, like, for example, I have this office and I can't remember the square footage of this, but you can write it off in that area that you're working out of, which is super cool. And I'm not an accountant or anything, but a lot of people are opening up S corps and things like that to just, reap the benefits of what it means to be either in your case, helping people more like miniature firms, or in my case in the past, having like employees and things like that. Yeah. Cool. So, so where let's kind of backtrack a little bit, because I did look at your LinkedIn, and it
Mhm.
looks like you have been in this space for quite some time. Um, Specifically, you were a business development manager
Yeah.
and an AE back in like 2007, I
Yeah.
believe is what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I started recruiting,
okay.
recruiting for the jobs, and then I went more to the client side. But I always kept the candidate relationships,
Yeah.
to kind of grow my network because, your network travels with you,
Yes.
and it's kind of like a snowball effect where you do a good job for someone, they go to a new company.
Yeah.
And, in my business, it can be tough to become a vendor at these companies
Yeah.
because there's a lot of hurdles. It's kind of a pain in the ass for legal and HR to set you up. So even if you have a high level contact, they're gonna really bitch and moan to
Mm-hmm.
get you signed with an agreement in a lot of companies. So you know this way, like, I just follow my network where
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of transient movement in the tech space too. So this guy's a manager and he gets me into this company, but then he goes to the next company, gets me in there, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
still in that first company. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can still do business there. So I have two good clients, and then I meet people there. Same thing happens, and so it just kind of snowballs or spider webs out, however you want to
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah. 100%. I guess for you, why begin a career path in tech sales? And what was kind of like, a lot of people, they speak about sales isn't for me, business isn't for me, and sometimes I'm like, maybe you're just like not aware of what it could do for you, the potential growth that you may have. 2007, obviously we can look at that as like a long time ago, but
Yeah,
at the same time, it also seems like time has passed so quickly that it,
yeah.
sometimes we remember these things. But why sales? Why a career in sales? And what's kind of like your background going into sales that you're like, this is why I felt like that was my calling.
Yeah, I mean, I was never the most, in your face sales guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this industry is better for me because um, it's more of a networking type play than
Mm-hmm.
you know, pretty much my sales pitch is getting the ability to fill their open jobs. From
Yeah.
there, I find the people, and on the interview, they're selling themselves. You
Yeah.
know, so if some guy bombs the interview, I mean, you could be the best salesman ever. No, he's really good. He's great. He's great. And the guy's like, no, I talked to this guy for an hour. He didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how you sell around that. And also, the other thing about when your product is, it's kind of like the end product is,
Mm-hmm.
a person's work, how much you how if you don't know the person really really well, like you've worked with them before,
Mm-hmm.
how much do you want to stick your ass on the line?
Yeah.
So it's like I could talk to them, I could like them, I could tee them up for the interview, but that client interviewed them and they don't like them. um,
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know. I mean,
It
you can
hurts
pull
you.
that. Well, I mean, you can pull that card. I have pulled it for people I have worked with in the past. Like,
Mm-hmm.
trust me, this guy's really good. But you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to pull that card too many times because if the person burns you,
Yeah.
there goes your reputation.
Yeah.
So um, it's much easier just to kind of say like, okay, you didn't like him. What didn't you like? I'm going to find someone else, and just kind of go from there. So
Yeah, I agree. So a little bit of background, just for you, Chris. What I did in the fitness space was I hired pretty much SDRs for fitness companies.
mhm,
Um, we called them appointment setters. I mean, they weren't as high level as like an SDR position, right? Obviously, SDRs get paid a good amount, sometimes in
yeah,
the six figures. Appointment setters for fitness companies, you're talking $10 to $20 per hour, nothing crazy, but that was a lot of my conversations. I mean, literally last year, 2023, from October 2022 and then all of 2023, we did a lot of those hires, and we probably got into like the 80s in total, 80,
yeah,
90 appointment setters. And I tried my best to not pull that card, because one, those positions are already very flaky to begin with. You know, people are just coming
Yeah.
in and out of it. They're like, oh, cool, social media. I can sit here on my phone and message all day and sometimes get on a call. Right? Sounds like a fantastic thing. And then we promote it as like social media outreach
Hmm.
coordinator. So people are like, social media, that's so great. But there were some people that would get on these interviews that I would have, and sometimes I would go to the second interview. And I'm like, man, this is great, and then I'd have to dial it back after they go and have the conversation with the coach, and then they would say, I'm not really sure, and I'm like, fuck, all right, do I say that I really like them,
Yeah.
or do I listen to the coach? And sometimes I wouldn't say it, but I would do other things to try to push it anyways, and some of those times it bit me in the ass for sure.
Yeah.
So I 100% get what you're saying, and I feel like in this industry now that I'm in it, I've had a lot of people see that I'm trying to grow in this space, and they see my LinkedIn. I don't have as many followers as you. You obviously have quite a bit more than I do, but I'm almost hitting like the 2,000 connection mark and whatnot. And I have some new people, and they're like, "Hey man, here's my resume," or "Hey man, here's this," and I'm just like, I don't want to throw you in the ring yet, especially to, for example, like the place that I work, until I get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
And especially if like, you're coming from like a different background and it's not tech, and you're like, I want to get back into this, or I want to do this and I'm interested. Do you have any, and just, I've not kind of let it go, as I've not allowed it to happen as much as I used to. And maybe it's because I'm also new to the space, but that's a good point to bring up. So I guess for you, you mentioned, this was a question I was going to ask you, of like, how do you operate? And it sounds like you have companies that come to you, or you approach companies,
Yeah.
and then you find the talent there afterwards.
Yeah.
Do you
No,
approach us? Go ahead.
well, ideally, obviously, ideally, when they're, they kind of tell me what they're looking for, it's someone
Mm-hmm.
I've already worked with. Those are the best scenarios I can feel good about. I know they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't have to do all the background vetting. That's already done.
Mm-hmm.
They work through me at different companies. So yeah, that's the ideal scenario. And then, as you grow your network, there's going to be more of those. And that's why I post
Mm-hmm.
every open job I have on LinkedIn. And that helps gain a following, because anyone that is in that space or likes, says, wow, that pays a lot. Well, let me look at
Mm-hmm.
that. What else does this guy have? So
Yeah.
that's going to help me grow a following. Also, I automate the connection requests.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there's a couple services that can just kind of, through
Yeah.
AI
I
automation.
use one myself.
Yeah, yeah. I use I think it's called Buzz AI now.
Yeah, it's connected. I use
Connected.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the same one I use. They're
Yep.
actually based out of Indianapolis here.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm down the street from them. I know a couple people that work there, and yeah, I've been in their office. It's pretty cool what they're trying to get accomplished. They've definitely been changing some good things. I know that they just released an automated kind of like chat tool and a call tool
Yep.
that's pretty cool. But yeah, absolutely, the cool. So it's kind of a two part then. So you're obviously you got this funnel of people that are interested in positions, but at
Mm.
the same time you got this referral list of customers or clients that you have, while also potentially looking for some new ones, I'm assuming, because obviously the
Yeah.
more opportunities you have, the more you can kind of place and of course grow your business. What is your business called for the people that are listening, and how long have you been open for business?
Yeah. So I have a staffing company called Delos Staffing.
Okay.
I started it right in COVID,
Hmm.
2021, January 1st. Technically, was my
Cool.
first day.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of wanted to go off on my own for a while, and had the opportunity. My old company was able to be the back office for
Hmm.
what I do, and so I was able to, do my own thing while having. I didn't have to run around looking for payroll and HR and all that
Hmm.
nonsense. So I worked out a deal with them for them to function as my back office. So I was able to hit the ground running right
Cool.
away. Yeah, but so I've been doing that for a few years, and yeah, there's been ups and downs. Obviously, right now hiring is not great.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, I don't say it's not great. There's still people being hired. We're still getting hires,
Okay.
but the amount of like kind of the market was flooded with great talent.
Okay.
And so it was a lot of big tech layoffs, just kind of flooded the market, a lot of uncertainty with the current state of the economy. So kind of less opportunities and more candidates on the market.
Hmm.
And I mean, I know people, I was working with this woman, I just got her hired last week, and I've been working with her for 6 months to get something. And she's
Yeah.
good too. It's not
Yeah.
like, sometimes mediocre talent can be on the market for a while. This woman's pretty damn good. It
Yep.
took us 6 months to get her in somewhere, and
Wow.
multiple interviews through the same company, and finally get her hired. But um, so that's kind of the market people are facing right now. But you just kind of have to, um, just kind of wait for your turn. And
Is it a is it a issue with just the amount of talent that's out there? You think it took her that long because she was getting, placed second, behind
yeah,
somebody else? Yeah.
I had a few second place finishes for her,
Yeah.
and that's common. I mean, I'm getting good people with silver medals all the time. In the
Hmm.
past, it really wouldn't be like that. Someone good shook loose, or you were able to poach them from another company.
Hmm.
You're pretty much getting the job. Now, when people were mediocre, you have to like coach them up and cross your fingers, and
Hmm.
maybe they hired the best mediocre talent that's available because that's just the way the
Yeah.
market was. But now, it makes it tough because there's no sense of urgency for the companies.
Yeah.
Because if I say you're going to lose this woman, they'll be like, okay, go be
Okay.
another one like her.
Yeah. There's.
Cool.
Okay.
You know,
Is there a
so
specific vertical that you approach? Like, is there like you only help these types of companies, or?
no, so company wise, I really help anything. It's been healthcare, banking, mortgage, clinical research, some big tech. I worked with Comcast in Philly years ago.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
so it's been a nice blend because
Hmm.
it depends on the skill set. Project management, you need to kind of stay in your vertical for the
Okay.
most part, unless it's more of a general role because they want
Hmm.
someone to hit the ground running. Like
Yeah.
they're paying you
Absolutely.
$100 an hour, day one, hour one.
Hmm.
You know, they don't want you to kind of let me look up the industry and learn the acronyms. It's like, okay, they want you to have done the job
Hmm.
for a competitor and you can just kind of get
Get
rolling
going.
right away.
Yeah. 100%. So, I this kind of like I feel like a conversation that keeps coming up a lot. And with recruiters, it's how certain people approach you guys, whether it be on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever. What makes someone really attractive to you, whether they are a senior or someone new, um, and what skill sets do you feel like you can pick up on in that initial, even just like initial message that somebody sent you? Because some people,
Yeah,
let me expand it if you don't mind. Some people are
sure.
like, "Hey, man, here's my resume. What jobs do you have?"
Yeah, right. I
So
get that a lot.
okay.
I wish it worked that way where I could, if a company doesn't have a need for something, it could be it's not just like this guy's good. Oh,
Hmm.
cool. We'll bring him in. It's like, no, there's a whole process, you know, it's finance, it's HR headcount.
Hmm.
It's a whole process. So unfortunately I can't just make jobs appear like
Up here,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish it worked like that. Now, if you talk about like the finance industry for staffing, it does
Hmm.
work like that. If you have a good
Hmm.
accountant, these companies will just, hey, we have a great accountant out of your competitor. Like, can you make something happen? Yeah, great.
Hmm.
For tech, it's different. It's very niche specific.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so a lot of people approach me, and I just kind of say like, all right, I'm not going to forget about you, but I might not have anything for a few
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
So just stay with me.
Hmm.
So that's like a lot of people I'm dealing with. Uh, and some people have a niche skill set that I only see once a year,
Hmm.
and I call them once a year. Like this one
What?
guy I call one time. I only get this job once a year. I've called him for the last 5 years.
Hmm.
I said, hey, and he picks up, what do you got this year? I'm like, there's the company, here's the amount. Okay, maybe next year. You
Yeah.
know,
So
So
what makes you want to follow up on, well, not follow up, what makes you want to keep some of those positions and some of those people for those positions in the pipeline for so long? Like, for example, if you know that someone has a certain skill set and they you found them attractive for whatever reason, why keep up with that person specifically versus maybe another 5 or 10? uh, what indicators do you have that, hey, this person's special? And this doesn't necessarily have to be like a skill set, like, hey, they're good at cloud engineering, AWS, or they're fantastic pre-sales and sales engineers that understand this type of development and whatnot. Are there other skill sets that you're just like, this person is a person I want to keep up with for 5, 6, 7 months because I know that eventually something's going to come up?
yeah, I mean, anyone I talk to, I'm trying to just keep them in mind for
Mm-hmm.
things that come up. And sometimes you forget, and
Mm-hmm.
then they'll respond to your LinkedIn post. You're like, oh, why didn't I think of that person? And
Yeah, with
had they,
14,000 followers, I would
yeah,
would assume you
I'm like,
forget.
so I always tell people to follow on LinkedIn and just flag me down if for some, because sometimes people will have a skill set, and then I kind of in my head I'm thinking, okay, this guy's a sales engineer, and then
Mhm.
an account manager role pops up that is also he could do and he
Yeah,
wants to do,
yeah.
and it fits him. And again, it's just in my head. That like I'm talking to that guy for sales engineer jobs. So
Mhm.
they'll be like, hey, I could do this, and I'm like, what, really? And they send me their new resume, like, okay, let's go.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, I mean, in tech, you have to be on LinkedIn. Have a photo, because there's a lot of frauds in
Mhm.
tech. So when they don't have a photo, it's like not everyone without a photo is fake, but all the fake people don't have a
Yeah.
photo.
Yeah, so
So
so you're saying like, hey, be on LinkedIn, continue liking my stuff because I may forget.
yeah, I might forget.
That's yeah, I might forget about you. And speaking of like frauds, man, I've gotten so many text messages to my phone of job offers.
Oh yeah.
And it's so unreal how people are constantly poaching for things like that, man. It's crazy. So with this being, like you're saying, there's with everything that's going on in the tech space where there's a bunch of layoffs, there's a lot of talent in the pool right now, and great talent. Do you approach new talent in this space, and potentially, if you do, why chase after them versus opening the door to a potential senior?
Yeah. So oh, you're saying like entry level versus.
Yeah. So, for example, take me as an example, right? I spent 10 years in the fitness space. My last 2 years, 2.5 years, I spent as a high ticket closer for consultants, right? Or consulting in the fitness space for another firm that was doing, consulting for online fitness coaches. And then I opened up an agency called Online Marketing and Growth Agency, short term or short as OMG.
Mm,
And with OMG, we helped out fitness coaches as well. We hired the appointment setters. So I have a lot of experience in that appointment setting background. Thankfully, I was able to apply at the right time, meet the right people, and land a job straight as an account executive. Skip the
mm.
SDR stuff, skip the BDR stuff, because I already had that experience as appointment setting and whatnot, and being kind of a self starter. So this company took that leap of faith in a new person, aka
Yeah.
me, right? And now here we are, right? Every day I spend on LinkedIn, I do prospecting. I consistently try to get in the know of what I'm dealing with in the mid market specifically. But I don't want to say like what they said about me, but I want to hear it from you. Like, what would make that person attractive as a newcomer versus someone who's senior?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends on the job. I mean, I really like clients don't need me for entry level.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I deal with people once they've gotten that first job. And I'm like, now that I'm more of like a kind of give advice guy. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm trying to I'm trying to talk to people how they got that entry level job,
Mm-hmm.
so I can give that type of advice, like kind of like gather data on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but basically the way my industry works is they're paying 20% fees
Mm-hmm.
on the salary.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, I mean, obviously, an entry level person is their fee is going to be smaller,
Hmm.
but it's they're more of an unknown. So now they're taking a risk on the person to begin with. Now they'd have to pay me a fee on top of that,
Yeah.
and you put up one of those entry level postings, you get 1,000 candidates. So they don't
That's
really.
what I see so much of. I'm starting to really see that a lot of people are, I don't want to say anything bad, but kind of delusional in a way.
Oh,
And again, guys, this is not as me speaking based off experience. This is me just what I'm seeing as of late. I see a lot of people looking for certain jobs that are way beyond their scope,
yeah,
and almost looking for a handout in a way. Um, I don't know exactly how to put the handout into words because everything is so different, but I feel like a lot of people are skipping the step of going from whatever they're doing, getting into an entry level job. I mean, Chris, to be honest with you, I took a pay cut from going in as an account executive.
yeah,
Being an agency owner, you can do a lot of things at a whim, and then we had a pretty good rhythm with everything. We charged a good fee, and I saw set $10,000 months regularly.
mhm,
Right now my base is much less than the $10,000 a month mark, but of course my OTE will catch up after my
yeah,
first year and second year and things like that. You've been an account executive in the past.
sure,
But I was like, okay, cool. If I want to dive into this space, I need to swallow this pill of I have a chip on my shoulder, but I don't want to have it going into the thought process of starting over. And
yeah,
I feel like some people are wanting to pivot, but they don't want to sit on the starting over piece of it, and they just kind of want to dive into it at a very high level. For example, I had a guy that was coming in from a guy I know. He wanted to pivot into tech from the car industry space, and
mm,
he's a finance manager. And he mentioned that he wanted to make half of what he made in the finance space, which was 250,000 as an account executive. But dude, he's been in the car industry for 12 years. If a guy like
yeah,
that approaches you and says, "Hey, you got to pay me at least 120, half of that," and you got no experience in the tech space,
yeah,
I mean, that's a little
right.
bit delusional. I feel like that's so
Yeah.
unrealistic.
I mean, why not stay in that
Why not just stay?
space? Like
But
a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm doing this, but I see what these tech jobs are paying. Like, I'm thinking of switching to that." I'm like, "Why don't you just stay in the industry you're in? Like, seems like you're killing it."
yeah,
Oh, well, I heard tech people make a little more. I'm like,
yeah, and it and
um,
it and it seems to be like oh, it sounds cool. Let's try it. And I don't know that the trying it is like the right word to put it when you're looking to pivot such a major change like that.
yeah. I mean, I've seen some meteoric rises as far as money,
Yeah,
but listen, I've seen other people's. They're still in the same spot I found them in 10
yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
They're still making, whatever it was 10 years ago,
Mhm.
110 and the same job titles. Like something went wrong,
Right.
you know?
Right, absolutely. No,
So
so I definitely think that a lot of people are skipping some steps. And again, this is more so like how I'm trying to go about it, and I'm trying not to skip steps. I know that good things will come from good effort and consistency and all that stuff, right? So cool, cool, cool. Um, I guess you seem, in just kind of based off this conversation, that you're pretty strong on like the certain type of people that you're looking for. I personally, in the past, have operated off like core tenets and things I believe in. Whenever you speak to somebody, if somebody has an interview with you, are there certain types of core tenets that you're following? But one thing I like a lot in just myself and some people I've worked with in the past and the people we hired are the ability to do things without being told. So like do it first
yeah,
mentality, so to speak. Do you guys operate off things like that? Is it attractive to develop core tenants for yourself, especially if you're coming in and wanting to speak to someone like yourself?
yeah, I think so. In technology, you have to be a sponge,
Hmm.
because a lot of these, again, going back to what I was just mentioning about people stuck in the same job
Hmm.
and other people kind of just, massive rises. I'll place someone as a whatever Linux engineer, and at whatever company they're at, you have the ability to help out with the AWS, the cloud side, or
Mm-hmm.
basically you're just stacking skills on your resume. So, and you're adding that to your LinkedIn and your resume. So now when a cloud job comes up, now you're popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you interview well and you do your homework, now you can get that.
Mm-hmm.
And now your trajectory is totally changed just because you took the initiative at the opportunity you were given.
Mm-hmm.
And it's little. It's like I've seen companies that will pay your tuition or certifications, and geez, always take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen just massive, like now your next job is, instead of that 10% more, it's, now we're talking 40% more,
Mm-hmm.
50% more,
Yeah.
because you took advantage of the opportunity. Um, and sometimes, you have a niche skill set, you're able to get exposure to it. Now you can portray yourself as like the expert in that. And if
Mm-hmm.
there's not many people that do that, well, yes, you are an expert in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely be a sponge.
Always be
You know,
learning is the core tenet here.
always be
Yeah.
learning. I mean, I think it's tough because interviews are so wildly unpredictable,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you're dealing with like ex-military guy, and he wants you to keep it tight,
Yeah.
and then you're dealing with you know this other woman that wants you to elaborate on every, like, oh, his answers are very short, and it's like, oh, the last guy was the military guy. I have to keep it tight.
Yeah. It's like you're either it's the you're either dealing with like a ground person or an aerial person. And
Yeah.
the ground person wants all the details. The aerial person just wants like quick fire, like tell me what's going on and like a quick, and run and done. I think
Yeah.
that's the hardest part about interviewing is
Mhm.
being able to on the spot know what personality you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that goes with like just personal development and being aware of who you are and being able to like practice kind of what you're saying to
Yeah.
yourself. I remember when I interviewed with some of these tech positions, I was like, let me write down some of these questions and let me speak them out loud. So I would sit here literally just saying it out loud to myself, like how I would
Yeah.
say it out loud. Um, and I would have like a short version and a long version, and depending on who I was talking to, I may have described it a little bit different for sure. And I think that that's definitely the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah. And ideally, someone like me that is helping teeing you up for the interview,
Mm-hmm.
ideally, I can give you those details. And I'm going to do basically what I try to do is get as many details as I can as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have no relationship with the management, I'll talk to other people on the team and be like, okay, you got hired by this guy. What is he like?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll give it to you. And if your recruiter isn't giving you that info, you can reach out to those people directly on LinkedIn if you really want that job. That's the best way to do it. A lot of times the skill sets, you versus the other five people that you're going against,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty even for
Yeah.
the most part. It's those little things that'll put you over the top. It's kind of aligning with the person
Mm-hmm.
correctly, like we were talking about. And yeah, because I mean, some people, it really depends on uh, the type of personality of that interviewer. Where like we said, sometimes, yeah, if you don't know something, and you don't say, "I literally don't know that," they'll be like, "Oh, he's a bullshitter."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Other people are just like, if you don't know it, you have to say, "Well, I don't know it, but I'll study it, and I'm a great learner." And
Mm-hmm.
how are you supposed to know which
Yeah.
person is feeling it?
It's like, so, yeah,
You know.
you're right. Like, do you say the long version of like, I am definitely a sponge or I can be a sponge, or you're just like, dude, don't even talk to me about that. I don't
Yeah,
even know it.
yeah. I
Like,
don't know. Don't want to portray myself as someone
yeah.
that knows it.
So,
But
so I have on my resume, Python, like the, development and whatnot.
mhm,
And I'm very novice, very, very novice. It's something that I threw on there as like, hey, if somebody's going to ask me about this, be honest and tell them that you're just kind of opening up into that. But it is a skill set that I'm developing, right? And kind of have developed at the beginning. And
mhm,
I got asked, hey, I saw on your resume that you have Python on there. Do you know XYZ? And I'm like, consider me an absolute novice. Do not consider
Yeah.
me. And he's like, okay, perfect. And he moved on.
Yeah.
You know, it's on there because it is a skill, but it's not a senior skill or really even an intermediate skill just yet, but it is something I'm
Yeah.
working on. Right. But, I personally recommend for anybody who is new and has certain skills like this, or is developing skills, throw it on there. But maybe you can kind of chat a little bit on this as well, since you've seen this probably more. I see a lot of on LinkedIn profiles and on certain resumes where they have like I am XYZ, or like their bio says that they're a solutions consultant, or they're an AWS or whatever, but they don't have the position yet. How do you feel about that? Should they throw it on there? Should they have something different? Should it be plastered as kind of like a billboard thing, or should it just be to the side? Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
because I would leave it on there because you have to half the battle is being picked up in searches.
Cool,
So I would leave it on there.
cool.
But yeah, I mean, anything you don't know that's on there, you'd a perfect response when he asked you about Python. Be like, you know, have a song and dance on
Hmm.
it, even if you don't know it that well.
Yeah,
Well, I've used it here, here, here. I've taken this much, um, just so they don't think you lied about it. You don't
yeah,
want to come off as a liar.
yeah. No,
That's
100%.
rule number one.
Yeah,
But
100%.
if you're like, okay, he listed it on there, he doesn't know it that well, but he took 3 courses in Udemy
Yeah,
or Udemy, whatever it's called.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
or,
Udemy, I've asked me. Yeah.
I never know what that is. Or you'd be like, oh yeah, well, I don't know it, but I played around with it here.
Hmm.
Based on your response there, someone in the know will be like, oh, he's legit.
Hmm.
And I just had a hiring manager on my podcast. One thing he asks, he's in cybersecurity.
Hmm.
So he'll ask about what do you do with your free time?
Hmm.
Do you follow do you keep up with the industry? Everyone just says yes. And it's like, oh, okay, well, how?
Yeah, it's just like have the answer better than it's like when I ask my kid. I can either ask my kid in two ways to know how our day went. I can either ask and say, "How was your day?" and she's gonna answer good, or we try to ask her what are two things that you learned today, and then she goes into all that. But now even when I slip up and I ask like, "How was your day?" she's like conditioned to give me a long answer now.
Yeah.
um where I think about that, and it's like, yeah, adults that are looking for better paths in their life should condition themselves to answer questions a little bit more in depth, even if the question is very broad and general, right? Like, hey, how
Yeah.
do you keep up with the industry? Well, I listen to YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fuck.
You
What
might,
do you listen to on YouTube?
you might get asked what channels in cybersecurity
Yeah.
you listen to. And I don't really know their names, but okay, well,
Okay. Yeah.
now you're better off. You were better off saying nothing,
Yeah.
because now it looks like now you're digging yourself a hole.
Mhm.
So that I mean, like what podcasts or YouTube, yeah, like or
Well, most
YouTube's
people
you
don't want
listen.
to listen to a long response anyways. So it's like if you ask a question, somebody starts giving you this long, drawn out thing. If you
Yeah,
haven't really developed a relationship, you're just kind of like, I don't really care.
yeah. Like
you know,
you should be able to name 1 or 2 YouTubes and something
yes, and something you
you
like,
actually
and
care
something you
about,
like.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
cool, cool, cool.
so
So when somebody approaches you directly, and let's say they didn't apply or they didn't like anything on your LinkedIn profiles, or I know that you post on IG as well. I saw that.
mm,
How do you want them to approach you so that way there's no wasting time on your part and on their part? Aside from here's my resume, what jobs do you have?
yeah. Well, I mean, listen, that's one way, and then just and just following along. I mean, a lot of times people will want to get on a call,
Hmm.
and it's like if I don't have anything, that's valuable time in the middle of the day,
Hmm.
and it's not like if I had unlimited time, I would talk out all their experience and everything,
Hmm.
but I really don't.
Yeah.
So it's better to contact me when there's a immediate fit.
Hmm.
I'll say,
Cool.
um,
So just pay attention to the job postings. Don't just like, because
yeah,
you obviously what you're saying is, hey guys, I'm active in posting. We do a really good job of keeping these jobs up to date. reach out to me whenever the job is there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, if it worked the opposite way where I had a great candidate and maybe like I talked to amazing people that have done amazing things and I can't, it's very, it has happened, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very tough to create an opportunity out of thin air, even if the person is amazing, because these people come at high prices
Yeah.
and companies can't just like, oh, what's he need? 250, 300? Yeah, bring him in.
Yeah.
It's like, no, there are finance, there are CFOs that
Yeah.
have to
Hiring
sign off on
somebody
all
is
that stuff.
expensive.
Yeah.
And, by the time, we did that a lot in the fitness space, but it wasn't as high as, like, for example, I got hired on, the company, it's about an hour and a half away. The HQ is from Indianapolis,
Mm.
and they paid for 2 nights hotel, lunch, dinner, training. You know what I mean? And then of course, like, getting benefits that first month, the first month's pay. There are a few things that they pay for that I use. They actually pay for my connected, the $100 or
Oh,
whatever that they pay for that, right? um, these are tools that I'm using. Obviously, they have other things in the space that, like Zoom info, that they pay for me to
mhm.
utilize, and it gets very expensive. In the fitness space, it was only a few $100, but still, it's like some of these coaches, if it didn't work out, it's like, man, I just spent XYZ amount of money. Fitness coaches, some of them only make anywhere between 5 to 10,000. Some make 40,000 a month, right? But not
Yeah.
every coach is 40 grand a month. Um, but nonetheless, it still is an investment, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool, 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 cool. So let's pivot a little bit, and more so just kind of like on a personal level for you.
Mhm.
One of the reasons that I was excited to just so jump on the phone with you so quickly the other day was because I think I have a good feeling of who's kind of in touch with themselves and, like, good personalities, good strong personalities. And I feel like nowadays, especially, everyone isn't, they're easily swayed by things, I feel like that's sometimes a good thing, to be kind of malleable, and then other times it's not the greatest.
Right.
So for me, I do a lot of reading. I spend time with my family. I try to keep up. Like, right before this episode, I was listening to Fanatical Prospecting was a book I need to finish up, and just things like that, right? What do you
Yeah.
study on? How do you think other people should study up to kind of develop a good, strong personality like yourself, and to
Yeah.
have success long term? And yeah, just from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I'm all over YouTube as far as, yeah, I think you have to stay sharp in your industry.
Hmm.
And, people will be doing interviews like this or industry specific stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm just digesting anything I can get my hands on. Um, Ways to do business in my industry, but
Hmm.
then I'm also I'm trying to monetize my podcast as well.
Yeah.
So I'm also digesting as much information um, from the experts as far as that goes, and so get as much free information as possible.
Hmm.
Kind of scout out the paid information, which um, can be very useful. Obviously, there are scammers and everything. Be careful. You could waste. Listen, when you start paying for masterminds and groups and everything,
Hmm.
in the long run, yeah, you're going to benefit,
Hmm.
but you could get burned a few times.
Yep. I totally
We've
understand.
all been burned.
Yep.
You know, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I mean, that's you know, you get the right idea that helps you in your career, your side hustle, um, your investments. It's going to more than pay for any duds that you spent on.
A hundred
So
percent. 100%. For me, my mom, we talked on the phone a few weeks ago, and she always brings up, she's like, man, I wish you would have had a college degree. I wish you had had a college degree, right? And I've never really told her, like, hey mom, but I spent like 60 grand on, like, mentorships. So I mean, it's like, it's practically like college in itself to a degree, right? And some of them are beneficial, and I definitely like that you said it the way that you did, was like scouting out some of these paid
yeah,
things. There is so much free information. Like, for example, we brought up, or you brought up Udemy, and on Udemy,
Mhm.
what is that, $30 a month or whatever?
Yeah.
Man, dude. So I'm in the middle of a web development bootcamp right now.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I'm doing this through the app brewery is what the company's called. And it's great. It's got all the stuff, the full stack. Right. And I'm going through it and I'm like, man, I know that there are so much things that aren't as valuable as this. Like I did another boot camp last year, and it cost me $4,500. And I'm a quarter of the way or third of the way with this web development boot camp, and it's definitely not as technical. Or what the thing that I paid $4,500 for was not as technical as this almost free thing I get on Udemy. So
Yeah.
so definitely look into that. The last investment, I definitely look back on it. I'm like, I don't know that was the greatest idea to do that. So, definitely scout out the paid stuff, but look into more of the free stuff first. I would
Yeah.
definitely agree with that for sure.
I mean, listen, sometimes it's like, sometimes just paying, if you had the same information
Mm-hmm.
for free versus you had to pay for it, the way some people operate is because you paid for it, you'll actually do it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, a little
even if,
stake in the game.
yeah, I mean, if it's something you really want to learn,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, even if some people are like, yeah, this course is just okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're that type of person, I would still look to pay for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um,
And that's
because
kind
it'll
of how
force
I
you.
felt. That's the mindset that I went into. Afterwards, I was like, okay, maybe maybe I overhyped it, but it still made me show up to every meeting. I went to
Mhm.
everything, and I developed a relationship. So good things came out of it for sure. Um, but there are definitely other options out there as well. Definitely look into them. Is there a specific, and kind of like my final question to you to kind of wrap up the conversation here? I have certain mentors that I really like, that I'm finding in this space now, and a few guys that I follow on LinkedIn. Cyrus was a huge influence for me diving
Sure.
into the space because I had no idea what a sales engineer was. I didn't even know what an AE was, and now here I am as an AE. And definitely those things have helped me a lot following Cyrus. Is there someone that you follow that's like, hey, I really like this guy, and this is who motivates me, this is who gets me to kind of look into more things?
Yeah, I mean, I love Alex Hormozy.
Yep.
As from a business
hmm
perspective, I've been on him for a while. The way he
hmm
breaks things down,
hmm
I really like, because sometimes he's able to take a step back in business, no
hmm
matter what business it is. So that he's been really helpful for me breaking things down. Follow all his stuff, and then as far as the podcast goes, there's a channel called Think Media
Yep.
Podcast
Yep. I know
and
who they
Think
are.
Media
hmm
YouTube.
hmm
And yeah, every whatever, twice a week, they have people, experts on monetizing. Here's how you get brand deals. Here's
hmm
how you do this. It's all the stuff I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Been able to monetize my podcast to the kind of 5-figure level.
hmm
And so not retiring on
hmm
it,
Yeah.
not even paying my total
That's
costs
cool.
in production. But I am, I mean, the next step is the 6-figure level, and
hmm
then it's a real business.
hmm
And pretty much I'm using the podcast medium as a platform for monetization as well as client outreach.
hmm
So if I can kind of pin a couple clients to the podcast as the way I got them,
hmm
now my profitability is going to be through the roof on it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Maybe we'll have to have a conversation on monetizing a podcast.
yeah,
I,
once I can get to that level, like
yeah.
when I feel good enough about, okay, now I've done it to a certain level.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to start putting more information about that out for
Yeah,
sure.
we treated the last season. We went 35 episodes deep, but I think we treated it more just like, hey, just come listen to us speak a little bit. Me and the
Yeah,
co-host that I had. Now I'm having different people on here, so that seed has been planted for sure. Where it's like, how do I make this go a little bit further than what I have been doing in the past?
yeah,
So I should probably do some more research on that kind of thing for sure.
yeah. Well, I
Awesome.
mean, you've been able to keep going, but
hmm
it's like a lot of people, they're boom, they're shot out of a cannon podcast,
hmm
and then yeah, and then early on, no one's listening, and you're
hmm
not making any money, and there are costs. including your time involved. So
Mm-hmm.
how long are you willing to, if you
Continue
see
going.
zero return, now once you start seeing money through affiliate deals, brand deals, all that good
Mm-hmm.
stuff, um, now you can build upon that and you'll keep going.
Yeah.
But if you're just talking into the wind, a lot of people, I think the average 90% fall off after 7 episodes.
Yeah. So I'm ahead. I'm good. We're good
You're
reaching
way
the
ahead of that.
we're
Yeah.
way ahead of that. So definitely excited to keep Potaholics going for sure. Which really this brings the end to the episode. I hope you guys found this episode valuable. I think for me, what I gained from this is like the lax on it. You're very relaxed. It seems like, and just kind of how you approach things. And one thing, the main thing I took away from this was like, pay attention to what guys like you are posting, and maybe not get your hopes up on like, hey, let me see if he's got a job if he doesn't post it, right? And I think a lot of people are looking to make connections and potentially wasting, even if it's 10 minutes of their time, like, hey, do you have something open? And it's like, it's not there. Maybe use that same 10 minutes to go focus on something that is open. And I think it will maybe turn into something that's more fruitful for you, at least
Yeah.
from just some of the people that I've talked to. I've had some people reach out because I'm an AE, and typically it's like AE has an SDR, but we haven't posted anything about it. So it's like, don't waste your time on me. Not saying that I wouldn't love to talk to you, but there's probably a gazillion other SDR positions that are out there. Trust me, I'm super active on social media. If we have an SDR position open, I'm the first to
Yeah.
post about it
You'll
immediately.
see.
Yeah, you'll see it for sure, and I'll probably be reaching out to a bunch of people. So that's kind of like the main thing I took away from this, is coming from a recruiter's mouth. Like, hey, if I got it open, reach out. If I don't have it open, maybe don't reach out just yet.
Yeah.
Not
Just
saying
hang
I don't
back.
want to talk. You just hang it back for a little bit. Cool. Well, I appreciate it, Chris. Potaholics, I appreciate you guys for listening. I know that we do have an average of like 12 listeners an episode, which is super cool. So I don't know if maybe it'll
Well,
grow. I like being fully transparent with some of these things. Before it was only like one or two. So whatever,
there you go.
12 people, whether they're new 12 people every time or the 12 same people, I hope that you guys tell people about the episodes and everything like that, and continue bringing people here. Follow Chris on LinkedIn, Instagram. What else? Just those two. Those are the main two, right?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
That's right.
YouTube
I pulled up your YouTube
podcast.
earlier.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep. Chris Schwenk. That's how you say it, right?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Any last words you want to say to the audience here?
No, I mean, I'll just say if you're in the job market now, we know it sucks. But it's going to turn, just like when it was a great candidate market like 2 years ago, it
It'll turn.
turned, it's going to turn back.
Cool.
So stay with it, keep applying, keep interviewing. Yeah, it's rough, but you'll get it eventually.
Awesome. It'll turn, guys. It'll turn. Appreciate you guys listening. See you on the next one.